At 11:47 p.m., his phone rang. No name, no number, just unknown caller. He almost ignored it. But he answered. The voice on the other end said one sentence: calm, quiet, and terrifying. After that call, he never slept again. He never told anyone what was said. And within 24 hours, he was dead. Police later confirmed one thing. There were no threats before the call, no enemies, no warnings. Just a phone and a voice that knew his life was about to end. This story is not about violence or blood. It's about a normal man whose life ended because of a single phone call. He had no enemies, no dark past, and no reason to be afraid. But after answering that call, he changed completely. He became silent, distant, and terrified of his own phone. Whatever the caller said was strong enough to destroy him without touching him. Hours later, he was found dead, and the voice on the other end of the line was never identified. This is the true story of how one call ended a life. He was the kind of man nobody ever noticed, and that was exactly how he liked it. He lived a quiet, predictable life, waking up at the same time every morning, following the same routine, and returning home to the same familiar silence. Each night, friends described him as calm, responsible, and grounded. He wasn't reckless. He wasn't involved in anything illegal, and he didn't associate with dangerous people. In fact, there was nothing about his life that suggested he would ever become part of a tragic story. He worked a regular job, paid his bills on time, and made plans for the future like everyone else. His phone was usually just a tool, messages from friends, work notifications, the occasional call from family, nothing more. No threats, no secrets, no fear. That sense of safety, of normalcy, is what makes this case so unsettling. Because when someone like this dies, suddenly, investigators don't start by asking what he did wrong. They ask a far more disturbing question. Who noticed him? And more importantly, why? It happened late at night, when the world was quiet and distractions were gone. His phone lit up on the table, vibrating softly. No name appeared. No photo, just the words unknown caller staring back at him. For a moment, he hesitated. Something about it didn't feel right, but curiosity won. He answered. The voice on the other end was calm, unnervingly calm. There was no shouting, no obvious threat. Instead, the caller spoke slowly, confidently, as if they had been waiting for this moment. They mentioned details about his daily routine, where he had been earlier that day. Things no stranger should know. The call lasted less than a minute. When it ended, he didn't react the way most people would. He didn't call the police. He didn't call a friend. He simply sat there, staring at the phone, as if it had just delivered news his mind couldn't process. Later that night, he deleted the call from his history. That single action would become one of the most haunting details of the entire case. The next morning, people noticed something was wrong. He was quieter than usual, distracted. His eyes constantly drifted back to his phone, but when it rang, he didn't answer. Messages went unread. Calls were ignored. It was as if the device had turned into something dangerous. Friends asked if he was okay. He brushed it off with vague excuses. Stress, lack of sleep, work pressure. But those closest to him knew better. Fear had settled into him, subtle but undeniable. He flinched at sudden sounds. He checked over his shoulder in public. He avoided being alone at night. Whatever the caller had said wasn't just frightening, it was specific, personal, targeted. It didn't sound like a prank or a random threat. It sounded like a promise. And yet, he still told no one. Not his friends, not his family, not even the authorities. Investigators would later believe that the call planted something far worse than fear in his mind. The belief that speaking out would only make things worse. The first call wasn't the last. Over the next few days, his phone rang again and again. Different numbers, same silence before answering. Same voice. Each call short, each one controlled. Each one leaving him more shaken than the last. The caller never shouted, never demanded money, never made obvious threats. Instead, they spoke in fragments, reminding him of things only he should know, places he had been. Conversations he thought were private. It was psychological pressure, precise and deliberate. His sleep began to collapse. Friends described him as a shadow of himself. He started carrying his phone everywhere, yet dreaded it ringing. That contradiction told investigators everything they needed to know. He believed the phone was both a warning system and a weapon. At some point, the calls stopped being about fear. They became about inevitability, as if the caller was counting down to something. And the worst part, the caller was never wrong. The final call came late at night. The phone rang once. He answered immediately. This time, no small talk, no reminders, just one sentence. Short, clear, final. After the call ended, he didn't move for a long time. He sat alone, staring into nothing, as if every option had just been taken from him. There were no outgoing calls after that. No messages, no internet searches for help, just silence. Hours later, he was found dead. The scene raised more questions than answers. There were no signs of forced entry, no struggle, no immediate explanation, just a phone lying nearby, untouched since that last call. To investigators, it looked less like a crime scene and more like the aftermath of a decision made under unbearable pressure. Whatever the caller said didn't just frighten him, it convinced him there was no escape. Police moved quickly, tracing call records and analyzing phone data. The numbers used were either blocked, spoofed, or untraceable. No recordings existed. No messages were saved. It was as if the caller had planned every step. Friends and family were questioned. No one knew what he had been dealing with. No one knew who could possibly want him dead. That absence of motive made the case even darker. Investigators began to consider the possibility that the weapon wasn't physical. It was psychological. The caller didn't need to be present. They didn't need to touch him. They simply needed to know him well enough to destroy him from a distance. And whoever they were, they vanished without a trace. As the case grew colder, theories began to surface. Some believed it was blackmail. Others suspected a stalker. A few thought it might have been someone from his past, resurfacing with information powerful enough to break him. But every theory hit the same wall. Lack of evidence. No suspects. No proof, no answers. The phone records led nowhere. The voice was never identified. What remained was a pattern. Precision. Control. Timing. This wasn't random. It was calculated, and that makes one thing terrifyingly clear. The caller knew exactly what they were doing. This case doesn't end with justice. It ends with silence. A life ended without a clear explanation, and a voice that disappeared into the dark. One phone call changed everything, not because of violence, but because of what was said, and what was never revealed. Even today, the question remains unanswered. Who was on the other end of the line, and how did they know exactly what to say to end a man's life? Because sometimes, the most dangerous weapon isn't a knife or a gun. Sometimes, it's a voice. Some stories end with arrests, answers, and justice. This one doesn't. It ends with a ringing phone that was never answered again, and a voice that was never identified. A man lost his life without a visible struggle, without a clear enemy, and without a final explanation. All that remains is the question of what words can be powerful enough to destroy someone from a distance. This case is a reminder that danger doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it speaks calmly, patiently, waiting for the right moment. A single call, a single voice, a single decision, and everything is over. So the next time your phone rings late at night and you see an unknown number on the screen, remember this story. Because not every threat comes with violence. Some come quietly, through a call you were never meant to answer.
If you enjoyed our story, make sure to subscribe to our channel for new videos.